Friday Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners share their wisdom. We have a special guest today. It's short, to the point, respectable time, and because we know transforming possibility happens really fast, and it leads to, of course, lasting results. You got it. So enough of that. Let's get to it. Question number one. Tim, tell us who you are in a few sentences and what you do.
Yeah, hi Brad. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Tim Cakir. I'm a growth consultant. What does that mean? Is I help tech companies, startups, scale ups get ready to grow and actually achieve sustainable growth, as I say. So not little growth hacks anymore, not little growth marketing techniques, but actually get down to the core of the business and talk about systems, operations, and how to create an organization that helps itself to grow, so that you don't have to do little hacks all the time.
Tim, you definitely speak our language, especially mine, systems and processes and getting right to the core of things. That's so important. And especially today in a world where, there's a lot of quick, hacks and tips and stuff, but doesn't really serve in a sustainable way. So I love what you're sharing. Definitely on the same page with you, Tim. Thank you.
Perfect.
Question number two. What's the best thing about being in business?
I think the best thing for me about being in a business is to find problems that are not solved or that are solved in a very small manner, and see how we can solve them better or solve problems that are not solved. I love problem solving. I think this comes from my ADHD and hyperactivity background that I had when I was younger. And now, I feed that ADHD is by solving problems and finding problems to solve. And I absolutely love that about business.
Again, getting right to the core of things. You're walking the talk, Tim. That's the core of every entrepreneur, right? Find a problem and solve it, fix it. I love it. That's great. Question number three. This is one of those ones, if you're a systems guy like I am, you're going to love this. We hear from other business owners. They're getting so much business, even nowadays, that the chaos sometimes causes overwhelm. Would you be willing to share your thoughts about that, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's a great problem to have. So, be happy about that problem that you have a lot of business. And you're right, it's still happening a lot. And even with the pandemic, if you have a digital business everywhere, everything went 10x, right? It's a great problem, but it is a problem. So how to fix that? I mean, what are my thoughts on it? First of all, I look at it from a personal perspective. So it's take time to pause, to understand, what you're going to do next. Don't just keep running all the time, because running is great. But we realize that we're running in the wrong direction sometimes. So make sure that you're on the right direction. And also, I think that not to have that chaos, it's great in an early stage. And if you're late, you're at a later stage, that's okay. Is to stop and systemize everything, and have a knowledge management system. Make sure you have your SOPs, processes, activities, whatever you want to call them, mapped out. Our brain is not made to keep information. It's made to think outside the box and create new things. So the information should be in a system. For my personal things, I use Notion, which is a note-taking kind of application, and I built it around what I call my second brain. So I really do recommend that, because then you wouldn't have that chaos.
Love that. The whole systematizing. Frankly, as you know, especially with what you do, as you know, a lot of business owners, they don't really get to that early on. They think, well, I'll just do that later. I'll do that later. But then they don't have the foundation and in a sustainable way. So I love what you do. And we're going to dig in. We're going to
Yeah.
dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and Brad, you don't get the time after, because you don't want to pose, because you're growing so fast. You're like, oh, if I pose, something's gonna happen, right? And actually, no. If you pose and put those systems, you're gonna grow better in the near future. So do take that time.
100%. I hope you all heard that. You're listening or watching. I hope you really heard that. I imagine you see it too, but we see so many people that they think, oh yeah, I can do that later. And it's detrimental. So I think that's why the percentages of why businesses go out of business in their first year and their third year are just so astronomical. So love it. Love it. We're going to dive in a little bit more to that in just a moment. So hang with us. Tim, what other successful business owners like yourself, of course, should be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
Yeah, I was gonna say a couple of my ex-clients actually. There is one, that I really recommend. It's called the app is called Amenities. Amenities with a Z. They're one of the fastest growing startups here in Spain, in Barcelona. They're solving a major issue for the hotel industry. So I think that anybody from there, the CEO himself or the COO, anybody would be an absolute great guest, I think.
Love it. Absolutely love it. We're going to talk about a little bit more about Spain here and in a few minutes too. So I love that you're there. Question number 5. Let's get to the crux of this, Tim. Let's really dive in a little bit. What piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners?
Well, what I would share is what I should have shared for my previous self. Like if you can go back in time, I'm gonna highlight, underline, repeat, and all that. It's start documenting things. Start writing things. I didn't in the past, and I've lost, I think, a lot of my knowledge, a lot of the things I've learned, a lot of my failures. If I had documented them, I would have been a smarter Tim today. So I really I will keep repeating that. Write it down. Even if it's a post it. Just make sure that you have that information written down somewhere and not just in your brain.
So, so as you look back, because you framed this up this way, this is great, and it's always great advice, especially for new entrepreneurs, but also for seasoned entrepreneurs, the ones who don't maybe document as much. What types of things would you say would be the most important to document early on? Let's start with early on. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think early on is your ideas. We are idea machines, and ideas come, and suddenly we believe in the idea. We're like, "Oh yeah, this is the idea I'm gonna follow." But when we write it down, and especially if you don't just write the title of the idea, but you make like a one-pager, and then you start visiting in 3 months, 6 months, you might see that it was a terrible idea, or you might see that it's a great idea. So I think that idea management is very important for us. And we need to do that in a systemized way. But that also comes in, obviously, by documenting our decisions. You're making decisions every day. We don't document these. So, document your decisions and then revisit them in 6 months. And you'll be like, oh, I've made a great decision there, or I made a terrible decision. If it's a terrible decision, focus on what you've learned about that decision so that the next time you're making a similar decision, it's a little bit better now, right? So I think that's really looking at ideas and decisions, because we are in a fast moving world and it's getting faster and faster.
I love this conversation. So we moved from the integration side where we started. We were talking about systems and systemology. Now we're talking a little bit more about ideology. I love it. That's great. Let's just chat about this a little bit more. How would you suggest that someone document their decisions? Would that be mapping? Would it just be notes? What would you recommend, Tim?
I've built myself a little decision journal, as I call it, on my Notion system, but you can do this on pen and paper as well. It's what is the type of decision you're making, why you have to make that, what could be the possible outcomes, the positive ones and the negative ones. And also try to put in your emotions at the moment, where you're at. Are you stressed? Are you feeling positive? Are you, because our emotions obviously play a lot on our decision making. And we as humans, we have to learn about our emotions, how they affect our decisions in that given time frame. So any kind of system that you have, you can build for a note-taking application or for a notepad. It's really up to you. But just make sure that you have a little bit, not just the quantitative, but also the qualitative aspect of that decision and where you're standing.
I love this advice. This is quite different than the type of advice we normally get on this podcast. And I really want to highlight and showcase that I love this. One of the things that I've shared with some of my clients is a transformational journal. So I might give them a spreadsheet and template for all that, but like I went back through my career and documented all my transformational moments and what I was feeling, what I learned, who I learned it from, how I learned it, and just a little story about that. It's been it's been instrumental in my growth. So I love this idea and notion, play on words there, notion of documenting your decisions. One of the things I see, I imagine you do too, is a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays are making so many rapid decisions that they're really not pausing to evaluate those decisions. You kind of alluded to that in the beginning, right? Where you could be running east forever, right? Forever without stopping. You can always run east without stopping. But if you have a North Star, right, then you know that you're on the right track, right? So how I like to say that is sometimes we have our ladder leaning, we're climbing, we have our ladder leaning on the wrong wall, right? And so what you're suggesting then would allow people to periodically check in on those decisions and evaluate whether they were fruitful or not. Is that kind of on point to what you're sharing?
Yeah, I have an automation that it creates a task for me in 6 months to review that decision. And then I'll put a little bit of a summary of what I've learned from that decision. Has it gone as I expected? Has it gone really south? Has it gone towards my North Star? Or what has happened about that decision? And that really teaches me a lot. And, taking that time is absolutely crucial for your growth, as you mentioned. And, that helps us grow a little bit every day. And, 1% growth every day, it's a massive growth. So document your decisions, read them, check them out, and so on.
That's really powerful. And I love how you threw in there that you just have an automated system that that allows you to do that too. That's great. I know that speaks into who you are and what you do. And that's great. I love that. Tim, I want to dive into, that's great advice. It's actionable. It's right to the point. And I think it's really powerful. Sometimes I like to say simple is brilliant. Like sometimes the most simple things can be the most powerful. And I love that you brought that on the podcast to deliver actionable value. I'd love to dive in a little bit to what you're working on right now and what you're up to, and just share with me generally. I know you've been humble so far, but you got some cool things going on. So talk to me, talk to us, to the listeners. Tell us what you're doing, Tim.
Absolutely. I'm building a couple of side projects. So one of them, it's a music edtech platform. So basically it's an educational technology platform for aspiring producers to learn from their favorite producers and musicians out there. And this is a bit of a personal passion. Obviously music is, my background is in music. I'm a sound engineer and a producer. But I love education because I'm a teacher at 2 universities. And I'm a freak about technology. So I'm very happy to finally meet all the 3. So music, education, and technology, and create a music edtech platform. It's in stealth mode at the moment. We're testing with a few potential students. It's going to come soon. It's definitely going to be one of my highlights for 2022. In the meantime, slowly but surely, I'm trying to build a platform that is going to facilitate everything that we just mentioned about decision making, about growth, about ideation, but for enterprises. It's a B2B SaaS. It's called Squad One. There is a website. There is a landing page on squad1.io. I'm trying to bring a new category into products out there, into platforms called a GMP, a growth management platform. On how companies can and the mission of the company is or the just cause, whatever you want to call it, it's to drive growth through collective intelligence.
Drive growth through collective intelligence. There is no way that I can love that more, Tim. Wow. I mean, that's powerful and it's needed, right? So as much as we talk about collaboration and all these things in the world economy and all that, talk to me about how you see that. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, what has happened is that there's been silos and silos, and we've been trying to break that. We've been trying to build a lot of HR technology platforms on making employees feel better and so on. But the one thing that I've seen missing is that it's not asking the employees every Wednesday, hey, how are you feeling this week? How's your work-life balance? No, it's saying, hey, do you have an idea on how to grow the company? What are you thinking about? And having a voice, giving a voice to every team member, not on fluff, but on real business cases, right? Because we hire some amazing people. We pay great salaries for these people to bring them from other companies, but we always put them in a box. And then, a year, 2 years later, they churn, they go to another company. Employee turnover is quite high. And I don't think fixing it is by telling you, we're going to give you a great health policy. No, we're going to listen to you. We're going to grow this company with you, right? So what I'm really building something on, let's not make decisions on our own. Let's collectively make decisions. Let's listen out to all our team members. If there is a problem, or as I call it, a challenge in a department, let other departments bring in opportunities to the table, right? Because the different angle that you will have, it's incredible, and that's what I've been seeing on my consultancy with my clients. When I involve someone that they didn't think about involving in that meeting or in that decision, suddenly new things come along. So I'm really focused on something that I call right now the GCO framework, which is the goals, challenges, and opportunities. I'm researching. I've had great students on my business intelligence master's course to help me do more of a research around collective intelligence, decision making, prioritization, and so on. I'm about to get my first draft for my book ready for next year, and that's going to talk about GCR growth, challenges, opportunities, how businesses can do this more successfully. So that's where I'm at with this. Driving growth through collective intelligence. I have an MVP. I have a platform that I'm testing. So if you have 75 employees or more, and you want to test this out with me, you're more than welcome to go to on squad1.io, fill out the form there, or just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I want to really build something that is solving a major problem. It's bringing us together on driving growth collectively.
Absolutely love this. Is a fascinating topic. I have all kinds of things running through my mind as you're speaking about that, and some of the other companies that I've consulted with, that I've worked with, like Gemba boards and all these things, but they're so siloed. They're not getting the collective intelligence of all the people who want to have a voice and want to share that and want to be a part of something great inside the company. And those old style suggestion boxes, probably most people don't know what I'm talking about, where you drop the little piece of paper. I'm showing my age, but I'm okay. Like, it was those
I
old
remember those days as well. Yeah, you have this box.
where they landed. Yeah, they landed on somebody's desk and never went anywhere. Like, that takes that kind of that idea and puts it on fire. This is a fascinating topic, Tim, and a noble cause and well needed. I'm not in the 75 employee category. However,
You can test it. It's just that the collective intelligence aspect really starts making sense. Over 75 people. Why am I saying that? Because underneath, you can manage it, right? You can manage by having great meetings, brainstorming sessions, and so on. But after that, it's very hard to have a space that includes everybody, right? Before that, it's still achievable. After that, it gets more complex. But to be honest, I have a couple of people that we're testing the platform with that has 15 to 20 employees as well. So I'm open to anyone, but if you really want to see the value, I think is over 7,500 employees or so.
love it. I absolutely love it. This is fascinating. All right. I know you and we could talk about Spain forever. We could talk about business forever. Like, let's switch gears for just a moment, Tim. What's the most fun vacation you've ever had?
Well, that was the one question I saw. I was like, you know what? I'm not sure what to say there. But I think that the most fun vacations I had was coming to Barcelona when I lived in the UK. I used to come every summer for the Sonar Festival. It's an electronic music festival. It's a what I call it is like the biggest rave in the world. And that's been the funnest vacations, because I always told myself one day I would live in the city. And 10 years, I think 10 years after I said that sentence, I finally moved here 5 years ago, and it's been my dream place to live. So I feel like it's a vacation every day. The beach is 5 minutes behind me, and in front of me I have the mountains. So you have everything that you're looking for, and great food, great people. So that vacation became my home.
Love it. I love it. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is that we work to live and not live to work. We talked about that right before we hopped on, to the live broadcast. But this is great. I love it. And I'll just share one of the I share what you are experiencing right now. I've been there. One of my favorite places in the world is Spain. So I often get asked, I'm like, what's your favorite place in the world? I'm like, wow, I've been to a lot of places, but Marbella is one of my favorite, ultimate favorite places in the entire world. And you're really not that far from there.
Oh, Marbella is really fun as well. It's just Barcelona still has that city vibe. If you want the city, you have it. If you don't want the city, you have. So you have a great. I used to call here the LA of Europe, because I lived in LA as well. But when I moved here, I was like, oh, this is the LA of Europe. But then I suddenly realized it's even better because there's history, there's culture, and there's great food and so on. So I made it home, and I think I'm gonna stay here for a while. Let's see.
Love it. I love the food over there. I missed it. The tapas are amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we can talk about that forever. And as soon as they get opened back up, I'll be headed back over there. I've been waiting for them to just open up a little bit more so we can get to back to traveling again. Tim, I really appreciate the investment of your time. I realize this is an investment. You taking some time out of your day and investing to be here to pour into people. Love the value that you brought. What's the website, or how can people reach out when they say, wow, that is a fascinating topic and I really love to learn more? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So first of all, I have my personal website, which is timcakir.com. So TIMCHKIR.com. There you can book a meeting with me. You can chat to me. You can find information, my blog, a newsletter, and so on. But I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So same thing, first name, last name, Tim Cakir, if you search that. And on the LinkedIn, I have actually a calendar meeting, a 15-minute free call where you can shoot your ideas. You can use me as a sounding board. We can see if we can work together and so on. So please take that time. I love to meet people. I love to hear about their problems they're facing. And if I can help, it's an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely love it. Thanks again, Tim. Appreciate you. This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners, right, they're making 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, 12 figures. Look, it's about the money, but it's not all about the money. It's also about sharing their wisdom and creating impact globally. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brad.